Okay, good morning, class. I am here to kind of show you how to score and tap out the different pieces for your practice piece that you're doing. I'm doing the feather again because I felt like it. And here's one of the copies. I've numbered it, and then I numbered my other copy and cut it out and glued it onto my glass using this good old stuff, the rubber cement, aka Ogre Boogers. So it's glued down there, space them apart, and if you can remember, we need to separate the glass, these pieces onto their own little islands first, because if I start scoring one of them out, when I go to tap it, the glass can kind of crack and disturb the other pieces. So we just want to score them out and tap them out onto their own little pieces of glass first before I totally go around and score all the sides. I'm going to remind you to be really, really accurate as possible because this is kind of like a puzzle. No, it's really, that's what it is. It's a puzzle, and when I'm cutting out the pieces, I really, really, really want to be as accurate as possible, because if one of my pieces, my puzzle pieces, doesn't fit, like if I make number 2 way too big, eventually it's going to push away number 5 and number 6, and it's going to affect this whole design. And last year I had some pretty wonky feathers walking around. So you want to try and be as accurate as possible when you're doing this. So we're going to get started. I'm going to put this away now. So I've already glued everything down, and I want to show you a little something. Let's see if I can find a little piece. Sometimes what happens is, I think number 6 might be an example. It's kind of hard to see. There you go. Some of the glue squished out of the paper underneath number 6, and that's okay. That'll get in the way of your wheel when you're going to scratch it or score it, and that's okay. What we can do is just take our finger, and it just kind of rubs right off. So you don't want to have any glue kind of like blocking your wheel, so you just kind of want to rub any excess glue away. Glue that's squished out from underneath your paper. So we have that, and then, okay, I have to kind of think about this logically. I want to start separating these, and I think that number 6 looks really good for the first cut that I'm going to make. I'm going to get it onto its own little island. I'm going to get them all onto their own little islands before I start totally cutting out the pieces. So I think I'm going to get, number 6 is off to a corner. It's easy to access. I'll get it off on its own island. And I'm going to try to be lazy about this. I could score this like right here, way in the middle, go around. Or I can follow, I'm going to catch that edge anyway, right here. I could catch that edge and just score along that. And then later on, I'll have one less side of this piece to score and to break. So I'll even use a little marker to show you what I mean. Okay, now again, I could score along here and separate it like that. But why do that? I'm going to score along here and just separate like that, and that way I've already cut that edge of the 6 off. Okay? Now, you do not need to mark with the marker when you're doing this yourself. I'm just doing this to show you where I want to score. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cutters, this, and oil them so I don't damage the wheel. And I need to get into that constipated golfer position. I need to make sure that I see that wheel is like right next to the edge of the paper, because I want to be as accurate as possible. Again, make it too big, I might throw off all the other pieces. Okay, so I'm going to go for this. And I'm going to score all the way from one side of the glass to the other, because I want to tell the glass where to break. It doesn't know. It doesn't know where to break unless I tell it where to break. So that's why I need to have a whole score line. Okay. And let's see, we have that score line now. Okay. And this should be really simple. There we go. All right. Now, if you didn't score it perfectly and maybe it's a little too big, we will talk about grinding. You can always grind a piece down a little bit if it just came out a little too big, but you want to try to be as accurate as possible. Now that this piece is on its own little island, I am free to score the rest of it. So I'll actually do that for you. I'm gonna clean off my table because I can already feel glass shards hanging out. And I can try to score this entire edge, but I don't think that's a good idea. I'm going to score up one and get rid of that piece and then score along the other side. I'll show you what I mean. It seemed easier, and then this time, let's see, I'll try to use my pryers and pry this off. Oop, got it. Okay. And then that last little edge. Ouch. Okay, following the edge of the paper as best I can. Whoop, there we go. And this is another one where I could probably tap this for a while. Nope, came right off. Nice and easy. Now, I'll show you something. The edge, I kind of went a little far. I didn't score it out perfectly, but that's okay, because that's why we have the grinder. That's one of the reasons why we have the grinder. I can grind down this edge a little bit more so that it actually fits my little puzzle piece here, okay? So we can use the grinders. So I'm going to get back to original piece of glass. And I have to start deciding like another piece that I can get onto its own little island. And you know what? That number 3 piece is looking pretty good. And I'm going to be smart about this. And I'm pretty sure that I can catch one of the edges. I'm going to get it onto its own little island. And while I'm doing that, look at this. I can catch that little edge of the piece. I might as well make less work for myself. You know? I like to be lazy too. Alright. So I'm going to start. Oops, that is not, feels like I got a piece of glass under there. Alright. Okay, and I always score from one side of the glass to the other. There you go. Now it's on its own little island, and I can put that aside, and I could just keep going if I wanted to. Right now, I'm thinking number 7. And I'll be smart about this. And I'm just doing these lines to with a marker just to so you can see a little bit easier on the projector. Let me see too. So it stands out a little better. There we go. So you can definitely see where I want to score my glass and cut it off. Okay. I don't know if you heard that popping, but that sounded like I had little bits of glass under my big piece. So I always have to clean off, and then there you go. Now it's on its own island. We have 2 separate islands, and then, ooh, tricky. What should I do now? I feel like the number 1 piece would be good. And it's for you to decide. You have to figure this out when you're doing this too. So let's get my paper back. Okay. I think it'd be really smart for me to separate it along there. Okay, I'm not going to try and do a cut from here to here and then make a left turn and go there. That just doesn't work. The glass doesn't like to be fooled with in that way. It likes, remember, it likes straight lines, so I'm trying to make as straight a line as I possibly can. There you go. It's as easy as that. I'm thinking number 2 piece. I think, or the number 4 piece, but I'll go along the edge of the 2. Why not? I'm gonna oil my cutters again. then I can go a little bit along that edge of the 2. I don't know if you see this too. A little bit of paper. I actually went and cut over my paper a little bit, so I need to get more into my constipated golfer position and pay attention to where my wheel is going. I'm going to try not to cut off the paper. Just go right along the edge of it, but not cutting through it too much. Okay, so there's that. Okay, and then last one. I'm not going to mark it this time. I'm just going to go along the edge of the 5. And then, again, do this one again. I could just pry this right off. It's a nice straight line. I've got my pliers flat side up. Bam, done. Okay, and then afterwards, you got all your separate islands. You can go one by one, cutting out your pieces. Go 1 score at a time, and then tap it out. So. Or tap it out or just pry it right off. And again, one of my edges, I went a little too far. I should have gotten closer to the paper, but I can grind that down later. Okay. Okay, so score it and tap it, score it and tap it. Done. Okay. And then I could just keep going.